Welcome to the,
Sorry about that.
it's okay, not a problem.
We don't need more than one Kevin.
There we go. Good evening and welcome to the March 14th Planning Board meeting. This meeting will be broadcast live and recorded by Foxborough Cable Access. You can get on Wi-Fi as Foxborough guest with a no password. Any new business, any subdivisions or anything we need to address?
Yes,
Departmental update?
I have a little bit of updates.
Yeah.
We have been inundated with applications, so we have a bunch of upcoming things. I mentioned it, I think, at the last meeting. We have received an application for an 8-unit condo building at 73 Main Street. It's across the street from the Latter-day Saints Church. The land has been purchased by Briarwood Construction, and they're going to be developing that. We also received the application for the subdivision at 204 East Street. Both of these, this is for a 12-lot subdivision. The planning board approved a preliminary plan a number of years ago. So those projects are already being reviewed by a consultant. DPW keeps getting us work. And they filed for a PFAS treatment plant. We received the filing today. So that's in the process as well. We also received an application for a modification to the site plan at the stadium for a pedestrian bridge. This is something that's been in the discussions for a very, very long time. And with the upcoming World Cup, they felt that there was enough momentum to get some funding and do this. So that's something that you will be reviewing at the next meeting as well. The plans are going to be posted online in the next couple of days.
Did they actually make the application to the state and the federal government and everything they're supposed to do?
There was an application that was due that was not finished on time, so no, but there is another round of funding that they're preparing an application for. I'm not sure what the amount is or any. I have not been privy to the information.
State funding?
Federal.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if what other venues of financing are available for this kind of project. And then today we received revised plans for 3032 Wall Street. We had a meeting with staff last week and give some input to revised plans that they had submitted, and they have further revised them. I have not had a chance to look at them, but I will forward them to staff as well and get their comments. But they're supposed to be back on at the next meeting on the 28th. We have today we were supposed to have a continued public hearing for Rich Road subdivision. They have requested a continuance of that because the engineering review has not been returned or was not returned in time for Bay Colony to be able to respond to them. So I have a meeting set up with them on Monday to discuss the review and see what changes need to be made to the plans. So all of those items are expected to be on the agenda for the 28th.
Okay.
Monday.
Yeah.
Do they have to be? Hate all of them?
Well, we'll see. We'll see what we can, some of them might not have review, so we might just have the initial hearing and then continue them.
Okay.
So it is my hope that not to be here until midnight that night.
Why don't we just say, time frame at 10 o'clock, we're done.
Yeah.
Anything after that moves to the next meeting.
And that's all I have.
Any update on the hiring?
No. No, we had a candidate that withdrew. So right now, as Paige likes to say, we're at -1.
Wow, great.
So we're back to recruiting, trying to reach out to people that, would be qualified and try to gauge their interest. Try and get them, to say, we have fun activities coming up, we have the World Cup, we have all these different things, so trying to get somebody to be interested, but yeah, it's tough. There's a lot of openings right now. Norton has an opening, Plainville has an opening, they're smaller towns, so I think that we would have, a nicer draw, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
Hang in there, Gab.
Thanks.
So minutes,
I
February
sent the
22nd.
minutes out yesterday, February 22nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the
I did.
the meeting minutes from February 22nd as
Hold on,
amended.
Jeff.
We don't know
Oh.
if Jeff has a comment.
Oh,
I don't have my printed copy in front of me, but on the MBTA article, when you first get into commentary from the audience, there are two inaccuracies. The first would be Neil Kaiser and not Bill, and Steve Wooden's name would be Udden, I believe, isn't that
Yes.
correct?
What is it?
Udden.
You did.
and I am a miss, not a mister.
I got you being a miss, sorry.
Yeah, first page.
I missed that one.
Are you good, Jeff?
I am.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from February 22nd as amended.
Second?
All those in
We
favor?
have to roll call. Gary? You're on mute.
Get closer.
No, I'm not.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay.
Yes,
Tracy, yes.
Kevin, aye.
Ron, aye.
Jeff, I.
Thank you.
7 Perry Drive sign plans, is that,
Yeah, they're available there.
okay, so we just need to, we need to sign them. I thought
Yeah,
they
we
were-
need to sign them.
Extra
Yeah,
signs,
it
I'm
needs to
sorry.
be on the agenda.
Never mind, I'm a little
We can do that
slow
at
in
the
the
end of the
uptake
meeting.
tonight. Okay, and the last item is a discussion for whether we intend to have a planning board vote to recommend or not recommend at town meeting the article that's been submitted for the MBTA community zoning. And this, what led up to this was during a meeting, at least one meeting, maybe more than one, with the AdCom, there was commentary that was made where at least one or two members said, well, if we have to make a recommendation, why aren't you making a recommendation to us? And then there was, one or two people who took the contrary position. So this is not a reopening of the hearing in any fashion. This is simply, a question for the board to have a brief discussion about this, and whether we want to indeed reopen the hearing at our next meeting in order to take a vote on that. So initially, I was of the position not to take a position to recommend or not recommend and leave it up to the body, to the town meeting, to make a decision that evening about whether they felt it should be supported or not. But since it came up, I felt that we as a board ought to at least have a conversation about it.
Well, I wouldn't care either way.
Yeah.
But I think if there was any gist of an irregularity there in that particular approach, I would rather it, it was brought to our attention by the moderator and not the advisory committee.
Right.
So, if Frank feels that that would be best to handle differently, then, he can tell us that, and then I might feel differently.
I agree.
But in terms of the, I certainly would have no problem. I do think that, by taking this approach, I think, customarily, Kevin, you've handled this, but I think the board has to be prepared to give a pretty thorough explanation
Yeah,
at
report.
town meeting about what's going on. And of course, you'd be making a report anyway.
Right.
And
I think that's well said.
You probably don't want me making a report on this.
I'd be glad to have you stand in for me, Jeffrey.
I mean, the job of the advisory committee, the role is to review the budget, review the warrant articles, and make a recommendation to
Correct.
town meeting. That's not the role of planning board. And to your point, I appreciate how the AdCom members feel, but to Jeff's point, unless we get told by the moderator that we have to recommend or not recommend,
Or even if he strongly
suggest.
suggested that,
I.
under the
Yeah,
circumstances.
yeah. My feeling hasn't changed. I think this is a decision that's, we each have our own personal opinion. And then but overall, regardless of what our vote would be or our personal opinions are, it's going to go to the town to decide.
What were you going to say, Gab?
Yeah, Diana just reminded me, the moderator will be here. He is
That's right.
at the
For South Street.
7:25
What do you know? Speak of the devil.
presentation, so
We could ask him.
we could ask him then.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if I heard from Paige or Barney that there was a conversation with town council as well about this, and his only take on it was that by the fact that we were bringing it to town meeting for a vote was the correct thing to do, but if it was defeated, as for an example, at town meeting, then could the state take umbrage and say, well, the town, by not making a recommendation, didn't really have an intention, a full-throated, backing
Isn't that
of
what
it,
planning board, isn't that what the advisory board's supposed to
I'm
do?
not saying they are or they're not, I'm just saying that this
Well,
apparently.
I do think that in this particular case, this board is breaking with custom
Right,
by not making a recommendation, one way or another.
right.
99 times out of 100, it's.
We would stand up.
It's pro forma.
Yeah, we would stand up and say, we recommend that this get voted in favor.
Right.
Right.
So Frank can, say what he thinks specifically would be the best approach, but it is a break from custom, so I can see how some people would,
Yeah,
think. that-
Question it.
Yeah, question, it, right.
Yeah.
okay. So we're going to hold that in abeyance till Frank comes?
Yeah, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay, it being sometime just slightly past 7:10 PM, we have a continued public hearing, special permit site plan, 70 Elm Street, for the DPW garage expansion, Foxborough Department of Public Works. Gentlemen,
Just for clarification, they only need a site plan approval from the planning board. I had posted on the, just in case, the special permit, but they're only.
in this case, it's only a site plan?
Yes, it's
Okay.
only site plan.
Whatever you'd like
The
to-
special permit is for the zoning board, so we'll be back here next week.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, how are you all?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Just as a reference, Chris Gallagher, DPW Director. Lance Del Piore is the Assistant Director / Town Engineer, and Elena Compter is with Wesson and Sampson.
Thank you all.
So we went through this in pretty good detail the last time we were here. TEC had a chance to review the stormwater requirements, regulations, as well as the site plan as a whole. We met with TEC earlier this week after they had their draft letter together. We went through those comments with Gabby on the phone as well, to walk through their concerns, any questions they had. I believe the board has that letter, the final letter that TEC issued, with clarification on some of the comments that they had initially, that we were able to verify we do meet all the stormwater regulations. And then there are some other comments that they have on the site plan that we are going to make changes on prior to putting that whole site plan out to bid. Really more of confirming, clarifying details between the plan and the stormwater report, or verifying some of that information. So, Elena's here if you have any technical questions beyond my briefing. She's here for that reason.
I do not, but Gab, is there anything that stood out to you that you have questions on?
No, and one of the things that we discussed when we had the meeting with TEC is that if they could provide us with a list of items that need to be included in the revised plans, in the final plans. So they have provided us with a list. So if the board would consider voting to approve this project, then we would add a condition that the items listed on the letter dated March 23rd, 13th, be included in the final plan, the final revised plans. So,
Questions from anyone?
We covered it the last time.
Yep, I'm good.
Yeah, and I read the report earlier today. I'm fine with it.
Same.
they also, as Elena said, that they are appearing in front of the ZBA next week because they need some special permits from them. So I think that that's something that we also need to mention in our decision, that the approval is conditioned with ZBA granting these permits.
Is it just the setback, Chris, on the side, or is there anything else?
There are 3 items
Yeah,
for the
one
special
is the
permit.
variance, and I believe the variance is for the fuel island. The fuel island canopy is, extending into the front yard, and then 2 other ones. One is parking within the front yard, and one is exceeding lot coverage. And both of those special variances are existing non-conforming, and that we are improving upon, but still does not comply.
Any other questions?
Do you want a motion? We have to close it, right?
Yeah, we do need to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the continued public hearing for the DPW garage expansion, Foxborough Department of Public Works at 70 Elm Street.
Second?
All those in favor?
Jeff, I.
Start with Gary.
Yeah.
Aye.
Tracy, aye.
Kevin, aye.
Ron, aye.
Jeff, I.
Want a motion?
Yeah, please, make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the site plan
Site plan.
for the DPW garage expansion at 70 Elm Street, on the conditions that the items listed in the letter from March 13th be included and contingent on the ZBA granting the special permits that are being requested
And standard conditions.
and standard conditions.
Thank you.
Second.
Gar?
Aye.
Tracy, aye.
Kevin, aye.
Ron, aye.
Jeff, I.
Very good.
All right, excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you for being here.
Speed.
We gotta wait.
We can actually talk to Frank for 8 minutes.
We don't, it's not a public hearing, so we can start the discussion.
So, do we have to
We have to
continue this?
continue, yeah, the other one, yes.
Okay. I make a motion to continue the public hearing for the definitive subdivision, Ridge Road, proposed 4-lot subdivision, Fed cap, until March 28th at,
Where you want to put them? 10, 20, 30, 45. What's, PFAS thing?
Mr. Buckley would like 7:15.
8 o'clock.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
at 8 o'clock.
Second that.
Gary?
Aye.
Tracy, aye.
Kevin, aye.
Ron, aye.
Jeff, I.
Thank you.
Frank, we have a question for you.
Prior to your hearing.
Come on.
Got to shut that off.
Why is he looking at me like he's afraid?
Because most people are.
True.
Would you?
We do actually have a question.
We do. We had a brief discussion, and you came up, and so we'd like to get your point of view.
Did you think I was kidding?
No, I thought you were talking to someone else.
Oh, no.
So, before you entered the room at a little earlier there under action items, we had a brief discussion about whether the planning board should be voting to make a recommendation specifically on the MBTA Communities article at town meeting. Came up at, apparently it came up at AdCom, and then with town council as well. And, we just want to be on the right side of this. Traditionally, we know that, you would have me give a report or someone of us give a report and then make a recommendation. In this particular case, so as not to be to bias anyone in favor or against, we kind of agreed that we would not make a recommendation, but we think that perhaps you might have a differing point of view about that. And
Under the law, all zoning articles require a recommendation from the planning board.
okay.
Now, your recommendation can be in various ways.
So
You can
far,
say that you're not taking a position
that's what we've done.
on what's required, but you have reviewed and have decided that the article in front of town meeting is what's in the best interest of the town if it will approve the requirement under the state law, requirement of the MBTA zoning.
Do you
So
want me to
you can say you're not taking a
what the
position
motion
on
was?
Sorry, what?
whether
Want me to
it's,
tell them what the motion was?
Sure, you can tell President.
So at the last meeting, they did a motion for the planning board to neither endorse nor oppose warrant Article 4, and instead allow the people who will be most impacted, the residents of Foxborough, determine what is in the best interest of the town at the annual town meeting on Monday, May 13th.
well, it's a odd question. Is a recommendation of not making a recommendation?
Well, no, it was a recommendation to put it on the warrant, which we did approve.
No, we did that. This was the public hearing. I mean, all the rest of them, we did a motion to make a positive recommendation, but this one you did
You're
to neither
required in-
endorse nor oppose.
You're required under the law to make a recommendation for a zoning warrant article at town meeting.
So we have to
So
vote.
for example, in theory, if I don't have the planning board do a report at town hall, or a report is not provided in written form to town meeting, the article may not be valid, because the planning board is required under the law to provide town meeting with a report. We usually do both, written and verbal.
Right.
And it's required that there be a recommendation on there. Now, the way that was written, it sounds is your recommendation is not to make a recommendation. The question is that a recommendation as required under the law?
And we didn't realize that at the time that we had the discussion, that would come up as a thornier issue that needed further discussion, which is why we put it on the agenda for tonight. And then I guess the further discussion would be, presuming we hear what you're saying and need to make a recommendation, one way or the other, that, do we need to reopen the public hearing in order to make that recommendation next week?
Well, what did town council say about that recommendation you made?
He felt that if it was, as an example, and I was not on this phone call, but apparently Barney and Paige were, that if, for example, it was denied at town meeting and we had not made a recommendation, that the state could interpret that as the town not being in full support of it, even though they put it on the warrant. And therefore, they could take action against the town for that.
Right.
So he didn't say we absolutely had to, but I think he was inferring,
Right.
from what I heard, that we probably should take a stand on it, and make a recommendation.
Well, you're required by law, and I'm required to ask for a recommendation from the planning board.
We're going to have to.
Whether that recommendation, it's a novel question, is either up or down on it. I think at a minimum, you want to make a recommendation that if the town is going to approve what's required under the MBTA requirement, that statute, that this is what you would recommend to the town to approve. But you're not, but I think you could possibly say, but we don't make a recommendation specifically whether we think you should adopt it or not.
Okay.
That would be a question for the town meeting, for a town council, as to where that puts the town and the planning board. In my eyes, that'd be a recommendation that, if we have to do this, this is where we want it, and this is the zoning that we're recommending to the town. But we're not recommending per se whether you voted up or down.
Which was our intent.
Yeah,
Which was
that's
our
what you're trying to say, really, right?
So, but the question again is like, okay, can we do that this evening under this discussion period, or do we have to reopen the public hearing in order to do that?
We closed it.
We closed it that night, when we put it on the warrant.
So you've had your public hearing?
Yep.
And when was that?
22nd.
Yeah,
February
February 22nd.
22nd.
And did you close it at that time?
Yes.
And that was the motion that you made at the time?
Yes.
Yes.
And could you read that to me one more time, while you can look at it?
A motion for the planning board to neither endorse nor oppose warrant Article 4, and instead allow the people who will be most impacted, the residents of Foxborough, to determine what is in the best interest of the town at the annual town meeting on Monday, May 13th, 2024.
Well, you closed the hearing, but and you voted it. So you'd have to reopen it.
That's what I thought, that's why I'm asking, just want to do,
Yeah.
if we do this.
I mean, if you
we'll be
hadn't
able to
done
do
the
it
official
correct.
vote yet, you closed it to do discussion and to do it, but you closed it, then you took the vote, so I think you'd have to reopen it.
So can we reopen it tonight as being under an action item, or do we have to advertise it?
It's gotta be
We'd have
posted.
to do it for next week's meeting.
No, just to be safe,
Yeah.
I would,
Put it on the 28th.
We can't because it's for a zoning article, for zoning articles, we have to advertise it 2 weeks in a row in the local paper.
And we've got to do it the week
April
after.
11th.
Then we'd have to do it the week of the election,
No,
Week
April
of the
11th.
11th
the 11th, okay.
of April.
Yeah, my election's not till May.
No, you're May, you're right, yeah. sorry.
Okay, so let's put it on for May 11th.
April
April
11th.
11th.
April 11th.
See, as bad as me.
so the board doesn't want to take a position one way or the other per se on it?
Correct.
Right. But what I would recommend is they take a position on the article to change the zoning with regard to what's required by the statute. I think you would want to endorse that, saying, yes, if we're going to do this, this is where we want it, and this is the zoning we want. But we're not making a recommendation to the town as to whether, per se, to vote up this requirement up or down.
Okay, okay, that's
I think
fine.
that would be a legitimate
Okay.
recommendation to
That's
town
fine.
meeting. You know,
Thank you for your input, sir.
Appreciate it.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Glad you were here.
that's okay. I'm glad I finally woke up.
I know, I was like, we were going to have Mr. Kaiser come up and help us.
Okay. Being sometime past 7:25 PM, we have an update and informal discussion for 3135 and 3739 South Street with Attorney Spillane.
Wow, it's a party.
Good evening, Attorney Frank Spillane. Here with the planning board on the informal discussion with regard to a property located at 3135 and 3739 South Street, which is diagonally across from Town Hall over to the right. They're two multifamily dwellings located in the general business zoning district and also located in the Foxborough Central Overlay District. Here this evening with me is Mr. Buckley of Bay Colony Group, civil engineer. James McClure, he is the owner and manager of 3139 South Street LLC, which owns both of those properties, as well as 6-8 Centennial Street, which is located behind those properties, and the vacant lot on School Street, which is located between Bank of America and Bay Colony. That little, also, at the end there is Chris Drew, who's the principal designer of 686 Architects in Braintree, Mass. When Mr. McClure originally came and saw Mr. Buckley and I with regard to all four of those properties, he was interested in renovating those two properties and the property on School Street. The real focus, though, initially and currently, is on the two South Street properties. Mr. McClure will get into all the renovations and improvements they've done to that property, and they're almost done with it. They're almost fully occupied again. But they're also interested in doing some parking renovations and exterior renovations, but also down the road, they're gonna be doing, a building on School Street and the Centennial property. They'll be doing something with that depending on what happens with School Street. But one of the concerns and issues that they brought forward to Mr. Buckley and I was they really wanted to improve the parking there, because right now, the parking is pre-existing and non-conforming. It's parked wherever you want, whenever you want, however you want. As well as they wanted to improve the exterior. Now, if we combine 3739 South Street with the development of the School Street property, we could increase the number of units in there from 9 to 12 under that umbrella. So one of the things we started looking at is how could we possibly get that done now so that we can do the parking and do the exterior now? Because they won't be doing School Street for a few years, it seems like, until interest rates come a little bit down a little bit and the economy stabilizes. So in reviewing it, I determined, and I've met with the building commissioner as well as the assistant town planner with regard to this, that we can file with the zoning board of appeals for special permits. One is to change, expand, and improve the existing parking. The parking is a use, it's pre-existing non-conforming. It doesn't meet any of the requirements under the zoning, to be quite frankly. It's lengthy, everyone's parking right up against the buildings, everywhere. The buildings and the uses there are also pre-existing. As you can see, 57, 59, 39. School Street is right on top of the street, zero frontage, none of the side yards, none of the rear yards, none of the lot width, none of the frontage meets. And the use is pre-existing non-conforming because they don't have a special permit for that use in this area. So we can apply with the zoning board of appeals to do two things. One, to get the parking renovated and extended from what it is today to what we're proposing right here. And also, we can file for a special permit to increase the number of units from 9 to 12. There'll be two special permits, one for the extension of the use and one for the structure itself. So we're here this evening to do a couple things. One, to show you this parking plan, which we've had reviewed by the fire department, and they've signed off on it. Because once we file with the zoning board of appeals, if we get that approval, we cannot change that parking anymore, because they'll have approved it for that. So if we come in front of this board and you want us to move some spaces, we'd have to go back to them, ask them for that permission to change it, and come back to the planning board. So we're informally, talking to you about this to see if you have any issues on the parking plan as presented. Not that they can't come up later on, but just so that we can get your input up front. And also to see if you have any concerns about increasing the apartments from 9 to 12. Those 3 apartment units will be located in the 3 garages that are currently there. Those garages are used as, bays for maintenance, have been by the prior owner. You can't do any parking in front of it because then nobody can get into it. By turning those into apartments, free up more parking spaces for the location.
Frank, I do have one question on the parking. On the 5 proposed behind 3135 that are 26 feet deeper than what's striped out, is that going to be for stacked parking, or is that you just showing that for future access?
I'm sorry,
You have to have a minimum, Ron, of a 24-foot aisle for cars to back in and out.
Okay,
So that's what that's for.
all right, okay.
that's my answer.
Should have asked him, I guess.
I'd just like to have James McClure just kind of go over what they've done on the interior.
Yes.
Joe, we'd
They've
love to
done
hear
a
it.
significant amount in there.
Thank you for your time tonight. So when we acquired the building, at the beginning of last year, the plan was to go through and improve all the apartments. We have completed the remodels of all, how many units total? 13, all 13 units have been completely remodeled with upgraded electric, upgraded plumbing, upgraded heating systems. So that part of the construction is complete. We've rented all but 2 units, which we expect to be fully, rented. So we're at the stage now where the goal is to continue improving the property, hence this visit, to get your feedback. So,
Frank, can we just go back to, did I understand you correctly that what makes it possible to increase the units is by linking this to School Street? Is that correct?
The way we're proposing now, no. For example, if the Board of Appeals says no, then we won't do any work on the exterior or the parking until School Street is developed. Because under the School Street development, we'll bring in 3739 School Street and 3135 School Street under that umbrella to do 2 things. One, to get the additional apartments, because it'll be under that one development.
Under additional apartments here in?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
And then we'll also do it under the parking. Because under the general business parking, 36 spots would be required for that many units. Under the overlay district, we would only need 19 to 22 spots for those 2 buildings. We have 23 spots under this design. There are not 23 spots there now, so we're going to be increasing the number of spots available to the 2 buildings and making it more conforming. It won't conform,
Yeah.
but more conforming to zoning than what is there now.
But I'm still confused, only because, are we committing at this point, or is your client committing to what School Street is going to be?
No. No,
So
School
how
Street
does that work then?
is down the road.
I understand that. So, but
Right now, what we're doing is, we're gonna apply with the Board of Appeals for special permits to allow us to change the parking
correct.
and to add 3 apartments. If they say no, we won't do anything until School Street is developed. And then under that umbrella will include these 2 buildings, which allows you to increase the number of units. You don't have that limitation anymore, and would allow us to also do the parking at that time.
And that's regardless of whatever the use or scope of School Street might be?
Well, there'll have to be a commercial, or retail portion, just like the fire station had a restaurant portion to it. The rest of it was apartments. And the second building then was allowed, that was 100% apartments.
Correct. Yeah.
That, we will be doing the same thing here. We don't know what's going to be going into the building on School Street. There will be some type of commercial, retail component of it that's required under the overlay district.
And also a residential component, or no?
We don't know yet.
You don't know yet.
I think what Jeff's asking is like, how can the ZBA grant us this? And it's an expansion of.
Well, that is kind of what I'm asking. I'm just,
Are
it
you,
seems odd.
are you asking us how the ZBA can do this?
Yeah, kind of, I've
Under-
never run across anything like this before.
Under a special permit, because both of these buildings and uses are pre-existing non-conforming. Okay?
Yeah.
So under that requirement, especially 3739 School Street, which has 9 units, since that is a pre-existing non-conforming number, which is greater than what's allowed, there's language in the bylaw that says if it's a pre-existing non-conforming use, you can extend it or expand it with a special permit from the Board of Appeals. And I've met with the building commissioner and the chairman, just to make sure that we're all on the same page with an understanding. And actually, we added an additional special permit that's being required than I originally thought was necessary.
Do they
But I'm
need
adding
to,
that.
do they need to make a finding that says it's not exacerbating the
It's
existing
not
nonconformity?
substantially more detrimental
Right,
than
yeah.
what's existing there now.
Right.
That's the finding they have to
Yeah.
make. Now, the parking, we got that finding previously under the prior owner back in 2005, because you're improving the parking,
Right.
Additional apartments there, we haven't gotten, has never been provided before, so that'd be something new. But it is allowed under our zoning by special permit. And I've gotten clarification from both the building commissioner and the chairman, just on the issue of what is required in order to do what we're requesting. And it's going to require 4 special permits. 1 special permit for each building for the parking, and 2 special permits in order to change the use at 3739 South Street and the structure at 3739 because we're in theory expanding, not expanding the structure itself, but the use within the structure. So that was the additional one that was after, when we were meeting, it was decided we also need that.
Okay, 'cause in my
I think
viewing-
that I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think that the confusion is that the planning board probably wants to know what
Right.
you need from us.
Well, we're here because
Thanks, Gabby.
two things, so that you understand what's, but the big thing is the parking. So we did the same thing back in 2005, before we went from front of the ZBA at the time. Because once the ZBA approves this plan,
It's locked.
it can't be changed, without going back to them. So we wanted to see if you had any comments or questions with regard, or advice with regard to this parking plan before we got there. Now, if we come back in front of this board and, somebody has a great idea or a great question or brings up an issue, we can go back to the ZBA to get it modified. But, we're trying to be progressive here and try to get ahead of it to see if you have any issues. And again, we've had a review by the fire department, and they were fine with it. So what we're looking for tonight from this board is a vote, hopefully, that at this time you see no issues with the parking plan, and if you feel comfortable that there are no issues that you guys have with the additional 3 apartments in 3739 South Street, and to relay that to the Board of Appeals, so that they're aware of that.
And that's strictly advisory.
Exactly, yes. And again, so that later on, if there's, somebody comes up with a real issue, there's a fire hydrant right in the middle of a parking space or something like that, that, nobody realized, it can all be revisited. But we want to come in front of you before going to the Board of Appeals to see if there are any real issues that you guys see.
So in doing this, Frank, you're not going to impede access to the potential development on School Street? for the
No,
parking?
actually,
Okay.
we've gone through a number of variations of this, and that was one of the things I brought to their attention. I go, you guys have to be thinking your School Street development as to how it's gonna,
Okay.
for example, the 2-family, it may stay, it may get reconstructed, or it may go away with the development of School Street, depending on what's going there and what's required for it, i.e. parking and all that. So they had to think that all through, and that's how, this plan was finally developed and met all criteria, and it has been changed a few times
What's the proposed access and parking easement?
So, right now, the parking for both of these buildings or wherever you want to park.
Yeah.
And the parking goes on to 6-8 Tenniel Street. So if I could you actually bring up that other one, Bill?
Yep, that's it right there.
No, I meant the first one.
This back one, we were just talking about?
Yeah, the parking one. So, this property's property line is right here. And right now, people are parking all over here anyway. You know, there's parking on Centennial, there's parking on both South Street properties. So this proposed access parking easement is this area right here.
And that's the
This is
school,
parking required for both of these.
and is
They're
it
gonna have
School
a
Street?
sign. Sorry?
Who owns the,
They own all of it.
oh,
So
okay.
they own
You're just crossing over
1,
parcels?
2, this is Centennial, and then right up here is
Gotcha.
school.
Okay, so he's getting an easement from just another piece of property of his.
He owns that, just like the Lynches owned it at the time. We're putting that up there now, so ZBA knows it, but also in the future, if any of this is ever sold, that's right there. You know, because again, under the bylaw, you have to have your parking on your site.
Right.
They don't have it on their site. As you can see, you know, all these spaces right now, you know, some of it's on their property, some of it's not. And a lot of the parking now is just, again, wherever they want, wherever they do it. For example, a lot of that parking right now,
Yes.
they usually have a couple cars in there.
Yes, they do.
One of the- And they had parking there originally. So one of the first times we met with them, I said, you gotta get rid of that. That is a right of way that Bay Colony has. They're gonna, you know, make it green space now too. I go, you can't have parking there. Also, it's by, you know, a second egress.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have parking there. So they moved that away and made all that green space in there. So that'd be an easement. Now, he doesn't have to do it, because he owns it. You don't need to
Right.
give yourself easement. But we're setting up so that if this is ever sold in the future, it's done. But again, it's all gonna, this will somehow tie in with the School
Understood.
Street development,
So right now, a special permit gets you to do this now,
instead
but
of waiting. 2,
instead of
3,
waiting
4
down the
years.
road, and you get to do it anyway.
Exactly. And they want to keep the ball rolling with this, because they've really done the interior remodel. Now they want to keep going and do the parking and the exterior. And, you know, in order to get the real funding for it, they do need the additional 3 apartments to do it, and they can do it under the overlay district with the School Street project, but they'd rather do it now, you know, get it looking
Makes
nice
sense.
now.
Yeah, it makes sense to improve the parking. Is the proposed access and easement area, is that going to be paved at this time, or is that just going to be it is going
Gotta
to
be
be
paved, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
Any
and
concerns on impervious or?
So we calculated, actually, by the time they're done, if this plan is done, there'll be less pavement that's currently there now. Because everything around that building, look around 37, 39 South, this is all paved, actually halfway up into here.
Okay.
So now you're adding this gravel. And it's funny you say that, because I didn't believe it either, even though I calculated it out myself before. So Chris and I were doing it, and before they came in tonight, I said, I gotta double check this. So I did double check it, and it's probably 300-400 square feet less than what's there today. So the bottom line is not the bottom line, but when we do, when James does the School Street project and kind of wraps this all together, that's when stormwater will get addressed for the whole
Okay.
project.
The other question I had, and I'm pretty sure I already know the answer, is you're not looking to change the footprint of the existing building, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I saw on the plans today was just taking the block garage and making it into,
That's right.
Making it look something that, something that's nice, not
Yes.
underutilized,
yeah, yeah. No, it's fine.
I have this here. So if you wanted to
Yeah, I
talk
saw
to
all
it.
I was looking through all the elevations and so
beautiful.
forth.
Sure. So again, a lot of the character, we'll try to keep, as much as we can, but, really it'll be like, hardy plank siding, the windows and stuff like that have been done. Just cleaning it up, hardy plank will look so much better.
Oh, yeah.
You won't have to worry about, painting it every so many years. It won't be such a blight, as you're driving by it. It'll really kind of bring the outside in, the inside out, with all the great work that's been done so far on the inside.
Yeah, because one of the questions I did have, and I spoke with Gabby about this earlier, was, are you planning on re-siding the entire property? Or are you
Yes.
just planning on doing that side?
The entire property,
Okay.
both properties.
Because the old clapboard that's on
Yeah, so the
there is-
clapboard, our
yeah,
plan is to do the hardy plank siding.
Right, because the old
And
clapboard,
keep as much as
it's
the-
lived its life, and
Yeah.
I'd hate to see you go to the extent you've gone to and
Slap a coat of paint on and say, hey, it looks
put a
great.
dress on it, not a
Yeah.
lipstick.
Absolutely. There is some historic features with the dental
Yeah,
molding
yeah.
and such that we would keep, paint, and then repair where needed.
Not that this matters, but did a lot of the former tenants move back in, or has it been new?
Most of the tenants are new because of the time frame it took to renovate. So we have 2 apartments that are available, and those apartments will also likely be new residents of the community.
Okay, thank you.
Parking space 21, is that under?
Yes.
Car parking space, I guess, yeah.
The first one on the right, Tracy, on the,
Oh, no, I see it. I just didn't know if that was even allowed, but then of course it is, so. It'll be good to see them be made into commercial.
Okay. Any other questions?
no?
Nope.
Care to disappear?
Is Gary still with us?
No, I'm still with it.
Yes, he is.
Is he already?
Okay, just making sure you're still there, Gary.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
All right. Anything from anybody
So
else?
I vote to.
Sorry, did you say you have a question?
No, go ahead. I'm good with it.
Okay. Gab, anything else from you guys?
No, I mean, we've had a few discussions. I have to admit, I was a little skeptical at the beginning, but I think that this is a win. I think it's important to get this finished.
I agree.
And
Definitely.
and get it looking nice and, continue improving the uptown area.
No, agreed.
It's only an improvement over the previous ownership.
Yes.
It is, so.
And over the previous development plan too, actually.
It is.
It is,
It was dilapidated, and
It
now
was
it's
a little
looking good.
I think people want to know what color I'll
What color? We're in favor of keeping the color if it's open to suggestions.
The new color is Nanya. None your business.
Did you want to?
If the board wants to take a vote, then I can work on a memo to submit to the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to support the
Parking plan.
parking plan,
The
Positive
proposed plan.
recommendation to
Yeah.
a positive recommendation to the ZBA for the parking plan and the number of units, correct, Gabby?
Yes.
The increase of the number of units at 3739 from 9 to 12,
As shown on the plans.
as shown on the plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Gary?
Gary, aye.
Tracy, I.
Kevin, aye.
Ron, aye.
Jeff, I. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Very
it.
much.
Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Motion to adjourn.
Sure.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Tracy, I.
Gary, aye.
Kevin, aye.
Ron, aye. Jeff, aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Aye.
Thank you very much.